Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the LFC Transfer Room. We're back with another episode here of the Expert Analysis Series, the show where we bring on YouTube and football's top content creators and get their opinion on Liverpool, football, and all things in between. And today, we're joined by one of the, in my opinion, best up-and-coming football content creation channels on YouTube. From an incredibly young, incredibly talented person. It is Harry Scarfe from Scarfey Spurs Talk. If you haven't already, please go check out his channel. It's absolutely fantastic. His latest video with the behind-the-scenes work at Fulham for the Spurs Fulham game. We won't talk about the result. It's fine.
Thank you.
Brilliant video. Harry, thank you for coming on, mate. Really appreciate it.
Firstly, Lewis, thank you very much for reaching out to me and for the time ultimately. So thank you very much. Very nice of you as well. Very kind words there. It's an honour to come on, and I'm really looking forward to getting into it.
Well, I mean, I suppose on these videos, we like to discuss Liverpool, of course, but I always like to start off with talking about the club of the guest who's coming on. And Tottenham, I've had Sonny Snelling come on recently, who I know you've collaborated with in the past. He was on our channel. We've had Flav Bateman, who's come on and talked about Tottenham. I mean, I want to get your thoughts on how do you think the season's gone so far from a Tottenham perspective? Are you happy or?
No, that's a good question. The ultimate question. I think overall this year has been very successful, considering where our expectations lied at the start of the season, myself included. When Ange Postecoglu came into the job, when Harry Kane left, let's be real here. Bookies are talking about Tottenham in terms of lower half finish. Some went even further and said that we could be in a relegation scrap, and that was serious conversations at the time, and nobody really laughed at that because it was worrying because we knew that. Last season we took away Harry Kane's goals, assists, any goal contribution, then we would finish 17th, and that is really worrying for a club like Tottenham Hotspur. So there was, I wouldn't say any ambition to be honest with you going into the season, but there was hope under a new manager, Ange Postecoglu, where we knew that a rebuild would come. We knew it would be a completely different system. We're all willing to give it time. So I think this year felt like a free hit. No Europe, I think, placed into Ange's hands perfectly. But I think it's like we've seen some Spurs fans now frustrated. I think that's because how well we started. Because it just clicked like that, and you just didn't expect it, Lewis. And it's when it works so quickly, and then you go on like obviously we won't discuss the result. I won't mention it too many times, that's for sure. But obviously we lose 3-0 to Fulham. I was there myself, and it just feels frustrating considering how far we came and how quickly we started the season. But overall, the bigger picture is really important for me. We're on the right path. For me to success, I think we've got the right guy to do so, and it's going to take time. You're not going to go for a complete rebuild. The amount of players have gone in and out of the club in the last 3 windows has been crazy. You're not going to completely change the way you're winning and ultimately compete with your Manchester City's, Arsenal, and Liverpool's in the first season. We went toe to toe with them at the start of the season, but that was a big surprise. We all said at the start of the season, every single Spurs fan said that we'd take a battering here and there because we see the longer term project. We've had enough of the recent managers of Mourinho's, Nuno's, Conte's, whereas sit behind the ball, and it's been really, really hard to enjoy. Whereas this season, you could definitely say we're giving value for money. It's been really, really entertaining. Ultimately, you can see that long goal what Ange's trying to achieve. I think it's a breath of fresh air off the pitch, the way he handles certain things. It's just everything you want at the football club. And you get some managers like that, and for me, Ange Postecoglu is that one. So overall, Lewis, to answer your question, it's been a good season. A few bumps in the road, but you expect that. But overall, very good.
I mean, Ange, for me, and I only make the comparison because, of course, I'm a Liverpool fan. I mean, that's pretty obvious. But he reminds me of an early days Jurgen Klopp where this is how we're playing. It's heavy metal, attack, press. We're going to concede 3, but we'll score 4. I mean, is that, in a sense, refreshing to see after having the likes of Mourinho, Conte, Nuno Espirito Santo with a very stunted approach? Is it refreshing to see this type of attacking football?
Absolutely, it is, because that you go and watch Spurs, even on TV, or you go in person, home or away, to any game. That we will give 110%. We'll make it interesting, make it difficult for the opponent. Whereas there's times under Mourinho and Conte, like a prime one for me is Dinamo Zagreb, right? Where we expected to win that. We win 2-0 in the first home leg, and we go away from home. We decide to sit back, and we end up losing 3-0. And that was one of the most, if not the most humiliating nights the club has had for a long while. It's refreshing. It's just enjoyable to watch. We lose that game, for example, against Fulham, and there was probably our worst performance of the season, but there's still glimpses there where we're moving the ball quickly, and there's still, it sounds stupid after losing 3-0, but there's still promising signs there. The back line kept the line well. So definitely the bigger picture is really important. We're playing well. We're really enjoyable. Win, lose or draw. And ultimately, I've said whatever happens from now till the end of the season, whether we finish 4th, 5th, 6th, sometimes even worse. Overall, for me, it's been a good season. And Postecoglu is the right guy, and just the word patience. I know it's frustrating when we haven't won a trophy since 2008, and obviously that is inexcusable on its own. But ultimately, look at the manager we've got now, and for me, the backing that he's got in the last 2 windows, the summer window coming up, other clubs struggling with FFP, so I think it all kind of plays into Tottenham's hands at the right time. And I do think that we'd be, I'm not saying this is dangerous or challenging next season, but I think we'll see further steps and progress next season, another pre-season, another window or 2. So fans just need to be patient. Absolutely. But yeah, breath of fresh air. That is the perfect phrase to describe Ange Postecoglou himself and also his time at Spurs so far.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very found myself drawn to him in a sense. He's so like when he's got press conferences, he just seems like such a good character. Like not to sound all Brendan Rodgers, but he's different, and I like that. He's not the robotic answer machine. Like he's so honest to himself when he speaks. And there were links of him coming to Liverpool. I wasn't completely opposed to it. I would have liked to have seen a bit more of him before going, yes, he's the one. But I mean, with regards to Tottenham's like this summer transfer window in this January even, it looks like the club are backing him more than they have any of the previous managers since Poch. I mean, do you think Ange has earned that right to be given more support than say like an Antonio Conte or a Jose Mourinho? Like, has he earned that respect from the board, do you think?
For me, yes, and some people would say no, because some people would say, you look at your Contes and Mourinho's, the track record speaks for themselves, and they deserve that backing. But ultimately, I look at their managers and go, are they really going to be at your club beyond that 18-month period? The answer is usually no. Whereas if you look at someone like Ange Postecoglou, and people go, yeah, but typically he spends about 3 years at a club. And I think you look at Klopp for Liverpool, for example, in terms of if he's given what he wants, when he wants, and rightly so, again, for me, he deserved the right after what he'd done with Liverpool in the early season. So obviously we got into Champions League final, as you know, to Real Madrid, and then he asked for the rebuild. I think he got that. So for me, Ange Postecoglou's deserved that right. And I think that if we play it right, the players are bought in for him long term. I can see him being here for the next few years, maybe even reaching a decade. And that sounds like a real push sitting here now. But I know that if he's given the right backing, he feels comfortable. And ultimately, it obviously relies on other clubs. FFP is a huge factor. But generally, I think that if we play it right, we can commit for long term. Obviously, a lot of Spurs fans have blasted the Daniel Levy, Enoch, etc. over the last few years. But for me, wherever you stand with him, you have to hold your hands up and give credit where credit is due. For me, there's been clear-sighted change. Never would I ever thought I'd be sitting here if you asked me a year ago, even a few months ago, that we'd have 3 strong centre-backs. And then the manager comes out and say that we're going to have 4 by the end of the summer. He doesn't just say that we want a centre-back. He says we're going to have another centre-back. It's just mentality and language like that really draws you in as a fan. Because I look at this team now and go, it's really, really young. It's really good. We've bought in some good players. Yeah, Postecoglou's getting a lot out of them, but recruitment's been really good. Because someone like me, who sits here going, I want David Raya, but the club identify a cheaper, but for me, a better alternative that suits the system in Vicario. And it's just excellent recruitment. Like Van der Ven really suits the system. Like we saw against Fulham. And it's easy to say Fulham played really well and don't take anything away from them. But there's a couple of goals where Dragusin wasn't very close to Munez. Obviously, scored a couple on the night. And you go, Van der Ven, his pace could have got there. So just clever thinking like that from the club. But yeah, again, one waffle in here. So overall, to answer your question, Ange Postecoglou's deserved the right to be back, in my opinion. I think that I expect to see a couple more really good windows, and I have full faith in the owners, in the club to do so. Because what I've seen in the last 2 windows has been very promising.
Like, if you go in as much detail as you want, because I find it Tottenham are one of the clubs who I don't know what it is. I just find them interesting because since the Mauricio Pochettino time, I mean, you've gone through so much change and so many different managers and players and systems. And like you mentioned before, the one consistent throughout all that was Harry Kane. And losing him, there was the thought of where are the goals coming from? Where's the attacking threat? Just how much of the likes of, I mean, Son was already world class, but the likes of Richarlison, Kulusevski, James Maddison, I mean, how impressed are you with the contribution they've made so far this season?
Absolutely huge. You look at this team at the start of the year and you go, where are the goals going to come from? Someone like me is, I'm happy with the recruitment, but where are ultimately the goals are going to come from? And we've seen it hasn't been a struggle. We've created chance after chance, and 9 times out of 10 we take them. Do we need to shoot more on some occasions? Absolutely. But again, that comes over time. Understand the system, when to shoot, when to pass, when to come and go. One touch, two touch. I think generally game by game we're seeing improvements in that. In our play in the final third. So yeah, I've been very impressed. Maddison pre-injury for me was one of the signings, if not the signing of the season. The impact that he had.
Absolutely.
Has he been the same after injury? No, but you kind of he openly admitted in an interview that that's the worst injury he's ever suffered in his career. He's never going to come back the same. Yeah. Again, Benton called pre-injury for the ACL, and then the incident with Matty Cash that saw a few months out after that as well. He was excellent, just really starting to gel in the system. So in that aspect, I think we've had a few things like that go against us. But again, credit lies to Ange Postecoglu, who's coped with these hurdles, if you like, of losing Kane, of players been injured. I mean, I was at that Chelsea game. We went into it, I think, joint top of the league, unbeaten. And not only do you lose 4-1 to your rivals, but you lose 2 defenders as well. Through red cards, and you lose Van der Ven and Maddison through injury. So it really was, in those 90 minutes, I don't think anything more could have gone wrong. So how he kind of copes with that, for me, has been really impressive. But overall contribution, there's been a lot of players. I look at Porro in terms of how much he's improved from last season. Again, Basuma going away at AFCON, I think was really good. Sarr, for me, excellent. A player that Conte was reluctant to play. He wasn't sure about him openly. He preferred Skip. And for me, that the manager like Ange Postecoglou is more likely to take the risk. Conte and Mourinho look at Sarr and go, I'm not willing to give you a chance. And that's the problem. And you will get that with Ange Postecoglou, experience or no experience. As a doggy, as I said, Vicario, Van der Ven, there's been so many star performers. And what I like about the Spurs team is I can go, this is a team effort. Whereas I'm very grateful for what Kane done, his goals and assists, but we were relying on one player. When you go up against the big teams, your juggernauts, your Cities, your Liverpools, your Arsenals, etc., or in Europe, you got your Real Madrid, your Barcelona, your Bayern Munich, you don't want to have to rely on Harry Kane week in, week out, twice a week to come up with the goals to save you. So it's nice to look at this team. Son stepped up as well, really embraced that captain's role. Romero, very critical I was of him last season, but again, embraced that vice-captain role, cut out that silly discipline side to his games to credit him for that. Overall, all-round contribution. The players that need to give themselves a pat on the back, and so does Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been nothing but impressed. I do at points think that he should maybe adjust the system, but like you said, it's some of the most exciting football that's in the league at the moment. And I said in that Sonny Snelling video that the league was crying out for it, because the Premier League's become so... I mean, Arsenal are good attacking. City are just a systemic team. Liverpool, I think, were great attacking, but Tottenham just feel different in terms of the way that you get at teams. What is the atmosphere like in the current ground? Because obviously White Hart Lane was described by some as quite quiet, some as quite lively, but whenever you go to the ground, what's the feeling around the stadium before a game at the moment?
When we were doing really well, we started off the season, and Andrews used the term like nightclub, and that it was fantastic to be around because it's celebrations till the end. It felt like, because let's be honest here, last season, as obviously in my short life as a Spurs fan, that's the worst that I've ever felt, and just people around you. You've got fights in the stand, people arguing. And that's not what football's about. Football brings people together. I do believe that, and gets the best out of everybody on and off the pitch. And that last season with Tottenham ultimately finishing outside of Europe is inexcusable. It's horrible. Going to James's Park and losing 6-1. Just things like that. I mean, in the end, the result against you wasn't that bad, where it was 4-3. It was frustrating the way we lost, but just how early, we went 3-0 down, and the game felt like it was done after that. So we just basically capitulated, and it was really sad to see that in front of us. As we had the players on the pitch, and I still do believe that. A lot went on at that time. So overall, we've come a long way from there. That's really impressed me. But again, to answer your question with the atmosphere, I think it's obviously a lot better than it has been. If I'm totally honest with you, there's times where I go, is there more we can do? Absolutely. Big credit to the clubs and things that they've done, TIFO, etc. Introducing the light show. So the club have definitely played their part. Credit to organisations like Spurs Longsheet coming up with chants as usual. THFC Flags, who said organise that TIFO with the club, etc. And always looking to do something. So generally, it's been very good. Like, you use things like drummers and trumpets. A lot of people against them, but ultimately, whatever you think of them, they are there to improve the atmosphere, and they do just that. Your drummer, for me, sometimes needs to mix it up a bit, and overall, we need to back the team when we aren't doing well as well. We didn't do that against Wolves. There's been times we have done that this season. So overall, there's still room for improvement. It's a lot of people mention like tourists and things like that, a load of excuses. But for me, ultimately, you have a new stadium that comes as part of it, and ultimately, they support Tottenham Hotspur, so I don't have a problem with that, and I don't read into anything like that. They're there to support the club, and ultimately, like that Wolves game, nobody was up for it. You can't blame tourists. All the season ticket holders, they weren't up for it. Nobody was, and that is the ultimate goal. So it is improving, I think, generally. And it's been really nice this season. So there's been a lot of memories created in a very short period of time this season. But of course, as always, there's room for improvement, and we need to make it that fortress. We have the manager, we have the players to do so. I think we have the backing from the board. And now it is up to the fans for me.
It's shocking how quick everything's gone from 12 months ago. It was there's no future. Everything's so negative to what you've just described there. We've got the manager, we've got the stadium, we've got the back. It just sounds like everything's going in the right direction. If there was a sort of system, not a football system, but just a strategy with regards to, say, transfers and a model to base your team on from Premier League, who would you want to be? Would you want to be like, say, Liverpool, for example, where we have the long-term manager, but where our spending is a little bit shrewd at times? Or would you rather sort of do the Arsenal way, where they've invested heavily in one or two windows, long-term players, and the manager just gets to build them over the course of the next few seasons?
Yeah, it's a very good question. For me, I don't want a manager that's going to be here 18 months. And that's why, as excited as people were, and I got called out for it at the time, I sat on my own channel after we appointed Mourinho, after we appointed Nuno, but in particular Conte as well, and sat here, we could have a chance of winning a trophy, but ultimately they're not going to be here long, and they'd leave the club in a worse place of where they came into. And I think ultimately both managers done that, in particular Jose Mourinho. So ultimately, I think you want a manager who's here for the long term. I like the way we do it in terms of Tottenham, and so Jim Radcliffe spoke about it with Man United. It annoys some fans, but I think it's the right way to do it. Hopefully get this quote right. So apologies if I don't. In terms of, we won't buy the next Mbappe. We go and look for the next Mbappe and look for the younger and ultimately cheaper version. And for me, that is the right way to go about it. Look for the talent instead of buy the talent, because long term that works. And for me, what's really impressed me about the club is you've got youngsters like Sarah Doggy, where the club have committed them to 2030. That's caring about the long term. And I look at this team, and half, if not most of this team, in 5-6 years' time, I think we'll still be in it and still be flourishing under it. And I hope under the same manager as well. So for me, at any club, you've got to think about that long term, and you've got to think about a manager, and look at him and go, are you willing to commit long term? What can I do to make you do that? And ultimately, Conte and Mourinho, they openly, and especially Conte towards the end, he said himself he wasn't willing to commit his future, and you can't back someone like that. Arsenal backed Arteta, etc. But for me, I look at them, have they wasted money here and there? I think they have. Whereas, of course, we've done it in previous windows. The last 2 or 3 windows, for me, we've got the recruitment right. And also people go, we haven't got the squad depth. But in 2 windows, for me, we built a starting 11. We've really built the likes of Son. We built a complete starting 11 from scratch and got it competing toe-to-toe with the best teams in this league, as we saw at the start of the season. And that, for me, is incredible. So overall, you've got to think long-term. You've got to think... And it's also a business as well as a football club. They're always looking for ways to save money, but I get with people's frustration in terms of like Spurs increased season ticket prices 6%. They scrap senior concessions. I believe that last bit is wrong, by the way, and it is exploiting loyalty, to be very clear. So people go, you've got that money, why aren't you backing players? But I don't, we spend 120 million, let's say, on a player, and it doesn't turn out. You don't want that as a football club, and rather that 120 million spent elsewhere around about the team. Let's say the Harry Kane money. You want it to be spent, for me, improving attack, midfield and defence. And it's not to say go for the cheaper option, but it's improving as many areas as possible instead of one player, and I think we've done that and credit to the club. So yeah, again, responding to your question, it's about that long term. I don't, as good as a manager is, Pep Guardiola, whoever it is, Mourinho, Conte, I wouldn't really back a manager if they're only going to be here a year. You want to do well in that year, and you hope you do well. But you think that in terms of you spend 300 million, let's say, down the drain. Look what Chelsea have done, for example. Spurs fans, I talk to so many on so many shows, and a lot of them are fantastic people. And obviously they have a right to opinion, but they sit here and go, why don't we spend 120 million on Osimhen? 100, and a lot of them were for Enzo Fernandez and Mudryk went to Chelsea. I know they're improving game by game now, but why aren't we spending that money, etc.? And I was going, but there's just not enough about them at the moment. You don't know. And look at Chelsea, billion, for example, over $1 billion, $1.5 billion. That's crazy. I don't want to be a club like that splashes cash, wastes cash, and then has to sell players like star players like Gallagher and Palmer probably down the line because of FFP. So I'd rather be a stable club, which we are under Daniel Levy and ENIC, have a long-term plan, which we do, and get the right manager. For me, they've got everything right in the last 2 windows, bar obviously raising senior concessions. But yeah, long-term plan, always important.
Well, I just want to say, I think you're one of the most well-spoken with regards to Tottenham in terms of you'll explain your reasoning behind it, but you've got details as to why that seems to be the thing. And I'm similar in the sort of sense with FSG. There's a lot of people for FSG in, a lot of people for FSG out. I can see the good they've done in they've built us such a sustainable future. And yes, at points that the spending could be more, but I will have the privilege of watching my club for the next 20, 30 years with no complications because of their shrewd spending. And I've still been able to witness amazing moments. Like, does it feel like that with Tottenham that for the first time in possibly a long time and it's sort of rehashing an old question, but does it feel like the future is bright at the moment for the brightest it has been in a long time?
It does, and yes, I may be young, I haven't gone through like older Spurs fans have done, and older football fans have gone through. But sitting here right now, I feel very confident for the future under this manager, and even under these owners. Have mistakes been made? Absolutely, as does everyone. But for me, ultimately, they've learnt for that in the appointment of Postecoglu. They've got the third strong centre back in the summer. We've had previous windows where we failed to bring in a centre back. And we've suffered. We've played direct at the back. They've learned from that. They thought, okay, what if someone like Van de Ven gets injured? And they bring in a third strong centre back. So for me, one step ahead. So I'm really excited. And as you say with FSG there, you're stable. Okay, there'll be times where you don't get the play you want, don't spend the money, but you're going to be stable. You can go to bed at night knowing that your club will still be going tomorrow morning. And as much as I'd like Saudi, Qatari investment in terms of what trophies the club can win, for me, morals in football is very, very important as well. I couldn't live with that, and the fact that like a Chelsea under Bowley, I couldn't have that. Not knowing whether my club's going to get a points deduction or not, or where we're going to finish ultimately at the end of the season, or whether we're going to be able to fit it in with FFP. And as a fan, all I ask for is to be secure, to be stable, to within reason, give the manager what they want. And I think ENIC and Daniel Levy are delivering this at the moment. I'm not defending us who haven't won a trophy since 2008. But if you said to me now, we go back to this in 2 years' time, I think that we will have won a trophy or two. And I generally believe that. I think that right now, yes, we know we need to compete with the title, etc. But next year, we treat the Carabao Cup, we treat the FA Cup seriously, and there is a serious chance there. And I think we're building year on year. It's very exciting. And obviously, I hope that the owners do give Ange Postecoglou time. I believe they will. I believe that, again, that's one thing to see whether they've changed or not. A lot of people say to me, well, and that is fair enough. Let's wait and see in terms of, manager like Pochettino. For me, the plug was pulled too early. Yes, we had an awful first half of the season, but he'd earned that right. Like with Jurgen Klopp, last season, he earned the right for another season, another shot here. He earned the right to say, look, this team isn't strong enough because of what they have achieved. And Pochettino, people go no trophies, but Champions League final, for this football club is huge. There's no escaping it. I would love to sit here and go, we're a huge club that wins lots of trophies, but ultimately against the Champions League final is a special night for so many fans. So, old or young, they are. We've got to the cup finals, semi-finals, in a couple of title races. And it was just, again, a nice experience, and ultimately we've done really well. So for me, I'm very happy under this ownership, and I commit to that. I think that we're stable. And I wouldn't be looking to change owners. I get people's frustration with trophies, but I need them. What I'd say to them is look at the bigger picture. You may have been let down previously, but just be patient and see how this goes. But what really frustrates me, Lewis, without going on tangent here, we lose 3-0 to Fulham, and for the first time all season, the talks of Levy out protests start, the talks of banners start, and I'm like, how is that on Levy ultimately? And I love Ange Postecoglu, but for me, the subs come after we're 3-0 down, and that's ultimately why we lost the game. It was a wrong team selection. Okay, it was the same team that done really well against Villa, but I said that in my pre-match preview that this could be the type of game for a Bentancur in terms of if Fulham come out. None of us really knew if Fulham came out. They did come out, and it surprised quite a few. And for me, I could see being there after 10, 15 minutes, it needed a Bentancur to put his foot on the ball, but Ange was a bit stubborn in changing that. It's not on the club. For me, the options were there on the bench, and what they've provided Ange in 2 months is nothing short of sensational for me. So I call fans to be consistent, to be patient. But I feel very stable, Lewis. Very stable under Enoch and Levy.
Well, no, I think that's an important thing. Is regardless of what club it is, bar one, it's one club who I don't really mind if they're stable. We won't talk about that, but like it's important that fans get to enjoy their experience. And now you're a young fan, like 16, is it? I believe
15, yeah.
So, like, what was your first season of Tottenham Hotspur? Like, I remember my first season was 2003, 2004. What year was your first one, and what was your first sort of experience of Tottenham?
Oh, good question. Testing my memory here. I can't exactly remember the season, but my first game was at home against West Brom when I went home at half-time. It didn't last the full 90 minutes. But in terms of like properly, getting into football, consistently watching, it would have been that Champions League final year we reached the final. In terms of where you go, that every game I would watch, and I'd go to bed earlier in the evening, so you get sleep. Then I could stay up longer. It's school the next day, that kind of thing that you all love, and it's a nice feeling. You don't have to record it, then go back and watch at the weekend, and so very fond memories. That Champions League semi-final was the first kind of memory that really sticks with me, and obviously, very grateful for that. So it's an excellent first year, I think, to start supporting your club. Vice versa, you can go, look, I've experienced it in Nuno's, the Conte, Mourinho era of Spurs, where some say it's been the worst for several years. But ultimately, I think that I came into a very good period. But it hasn't been that long in comparison. But for me, compared to now, we're just in such a strong place. And as I said, the future is bright is for me the perfect phrase. Breath of fresh air. Everything about this Tottenham team is exciting.
Well, this was because it's going to lead into the next part, so I like to do something whenever someone comes on the channel. I've got a list of Tottenham players from this season, previous seasons. I'm going to say the player. You give me it can either be one word or you can do a sentence, your reaction to the player. Just give me your thoughts on them. So let me just get my list up here for you. So bear with me. Luke, you can edit this bit out. I'm sorry, mate. I'm so sorry. Where are we? There we go. Right. So, first player that I'm going to mention, Toby Alderweireld.
Class.
Okay. Next up, we've got Dele Alli.
Very good young, promising player. Obviously went through a difficult period as he opened up about, and hopefully we get to see him back on the football pitch again. But generational talent.
I think that's fair. I mean, is there any... So Dele Alli, recently everything that's opened up with him, he's a big advocate for mental health in football nowadays. And you yourself, you're a big advocate you're a big promoter of autism. Like, you're someone who's very open and vocal about it. A lot of players nowadays are coming out with honest things that happen to them, or honest diagnosis, or things about like their sexuality or their culture or anything like that. I mean, how important for players' mental health is it to be expressing these honest thoughts and opinions about themselves in the public the way they are?
It's so important. It's a weight off the shoulders, and we've seen footballers, up and down the country and up and around the world open up and say about sexuality. Obviously, with sexuality, we've seen like Jake Daniels, for example, with Blackpool, pure inspiration to so many. And I look at young boys and girls around the country, and when you see your heroes, your professional footballers, professional athletes on TV open up about their sexuality, diagnosis, condition. It's honestly, there's nothing better, and it's really that nice feeling. Obviously, we've seen like James McClain, and we've seen others open up, for example, about autism diagnosis, and people said, "Why have they kept that in so long?" But for me, it's a thought of being different and not being included, being excluded by people, by fans. And when it takes a while to look around and go that it's okay to be autistic, or to be gay, to be trans, or whatever it may be. And it takes people a long while to realise that and to accept that. So there's been so many inspirational athletes and people up and down the country. So take my hat off to each and every single one of them. But it's nice. Honestly, it's lovely, and it makes it a bit emotional. Like we see stories of people opening up, and you go, "Do you know what? I felt like that." And Dele Alli as well. That interview, for me, you can't get any more emotional interview than that, and the things that he's been through. I think that's a reminder to all of us. It's not necessarily a criticism, or it can be, I guess, in terms of. I don't think not necessarily about not judging a book by its cover, but don't be very quick to judge. With someone like Dele Alli, they go, there's a lot. I would have sat there and gone, he hasn't been himself recently, but people calling him out personally and calling out his lifestyle. He called fat shamed, a load of things. He got shamed. You don't know what's going on in their personal life, and I bet those people feel very, very guilty now. So to just be very careful. People don't know Richarlison. People called him a disgrace, and a load of names like tagged him personally, emailed him a load of disgraceful things from our own fans. And I don't call them fans. I'm disgraced that they're even part of the football club. You just ultimately got to look at it's a human at the end of the day. And obviously at this time of recording, we've seen the Princess of Wales open up about this evening a cancer diagnosis. Again, ultimately, whatever you think about the royal family, it's a mum at the end of the day, a wife, and ultimately it's a woman at the end of the day. It's a human being. And we all want the best for her, as we will for anyone. So the bigger picture, again, Lewis, is always important. And it's just, honestly, it's inspirational to see so many people up and down the country, up around the world, opening up about how they feel. Because ultimately, it's 2024. We should be able to accept everyone, regardless. And that ultimately, it doesn't affect us, and just be willing and accepting of that. So I expect to see more people open up, be honest. And that's just honestly great to see. So hats off to the individuals that speak out about it, and the people who accept them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you've hit the nail right on the head there. It's fantastic that there are players who are so comfortable nowadays, despite the fact that there's so much access to them through social media, and they know there are going to be idiots out there who decide to give them abuse or stick for whatever. But it's really positive that people like yourself, for example, who are advocates for this, who are so crucial in people who are accepting who they are. Like, it's so important, the role that you play in this role. So thank you for that, for being one of those people who's willing to speak out for stuff that maybe a lot of people are quite quiet and don't want to be vocal about. It's a credit to yourself and anyone who actually does it. So yeah, I think it's superb. Just a few more players then, just to go back to the I suppose the more not as deep portion of it, I suppose, to talk about the football. We'll go on to a couple more Tottenham players here. So we've got Lucas Moura.
Wow. Ultimately, he gave me the best night of my life as a Spurs fan at Champions League semi-final. So if I had to give you one word, grateful would be, or just legend, ultimately. People go, how can you be a legend? But ultimately, giving the club, the biggest night ever in their history, if not one of the biggest, that's a legend, material on its own. So can't speak highly enough of the guy.
Well, you said there that, how can people say he's a legend? But Divock Origi was that for us. Like, he gave us moments, and he's a legend. Like, I adore Divock Origi because of the moments he gave us. He wasn't a world-class player, but Lucas Moura was the same sort of thing. You have those players that have those moments.
Absolutely.
I've got two more here for you. Next one is, bear with me 1 second. Gareth Bale.
Wow, an incredible player. Obviously, his majority of his Spurs career, I didn't have that privilege, if you like, of being able to see him. But his second spell at Spurs, as bad as we were under Mourinho, it was great. He's just classy. The assists he got in, obviously, wasn't played a lot. But also, if you look at his career, again, you talk about legends, you talk about talent. Gareth Bale, one of the best in the business. Pace, scary. left foot, incredible. There's no word good enough to describe it. For me, he's left foot. Obviously, I hate to bring it up for you, but that Champions League final, that does, for me, for Gareth Bale, represent where, he performs at that big occasion. I know it's horrible.
Yeah.
But he performs at the big occasion and produces miracles. So, again, you talk about generational talent. It's up there with the very best.
Yeah. He's undeniably, I think, one of the most... And it might be a bit of a statement because I know he is appreciated, but for me, I think he's very underappreciated for the Premier League.
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
up there with, he doesn't get spoken about enough in conversations. I just did an episode before with the Board Draw podcast, and they said the same about Sol Campbell. He's not very... Everyone knows he's great, but he doesn't get mentioned enough. And I've got one more player for you before we move on to sort of like a Liverpool section. Yeah. And it's a player we spoke about already, but just be as honest with him, Harry Kane.
Again, a huge player, on the pitch for this football club. And a lot of fans go, I'm not interested in you, I don't like you for the decision you made. But ultimately, where would we be without him? And that is the ultimate question. Have we moved on now? Absolutely. But I wish him all the best. And for me, again, we talk about legends, statue. Yes, we haven't won anything, but he'd still be a legend. He's saved the club so many times. And ultimately, he's an all-time record goal scorer. Tottenham and England's all-time record goal scorer. That is a legend, again, status. And I don't get fans that, like we had the mural, a lot of fans say, should it go, should it stay? It should absolutely stay. It's a very key part of the club's history. So nothing, again, but grateful to him. And I really want him to win a trophy at Bayern. Obviously, not as much as I do with Tottenham, but nothing would make me happier than to see Harry Kane with a trophy. It'd be very sad that it's not a Tottenham. But overall, the guy deserves it. The loyalty he showed to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club and previous managers. He's been through a lot of difficult times, mainly difficult, more bad times than good. He's just stuck with the club, and he deserves to be winning trophies. So, great, fantastic player, very best, one of the best, if not the best, in his business.
So I think last season Haaland gets a lot of the plaudits for how well he did, but I think Harry Kane had a better season. If I'm being, yeah,
absolutely,
it's true. It's absolutely true. Haaland is a goal machine, no doubt about it.
Absolutely, it's like a robot.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things. I think Kane has a bigger contribution, like the Mourinho season, or one of them. I think he was the top goal scorer and assister for that. He's unbelievable, Harry Kane. I just want to touch on, move on to the sort of Liverpool side. I mean, it's Liverpool channel, I'll have to mention them. And I'm curious to get your perspective. I love hearing the perspectives of other fans when it comes to talking about our club, because I can have a very single-minded approach towards my team. I'm a very passionate person about them, but I like to think I'm open to hearing the sort of critiques, if there are any. What's your opinion of Liverpool's season so far, and has it lived up to the billing in a sense? Is it as good as a lot of people like to make out, or is there flaws that you can see?
Overall, for me, it's been the season that Liverpool would have wanted in terms of challenging for the title, bounce back after last year, which they'll be very keen to forget. And there's a lot of questions, how this Liverpool midfield copes. Let's be very clear, it's a completely new midfield. So for me, that transition, they've coped really well. If I'm going to be very critical, and I was looking the other day and I didn't realise how many games you've actually drawn. And if you look back at it, drop points against Luton, then there's, overall Liverpool will be very disappointed. But in terms of games lost, etc., you've done really well. You won a lot of games. You haven't lost many. So in terms of that, it's been excellent. But some of those draws should have been able to hold on to wins or turn into wins. But overall, Liverpool where they wanted to be at the start of the season in terms of competing in Europe, in the league as well for the title, be able to obviously win that trophy, the League Cup against Chelsea. But the only disappointment will be that FA Cup against Man United. Of course, it's never going to be easy because it's a rival, but I think at the period of the season, I think Liverpool would have felt a lot healthier position than Man United. And I'm not going to say you're winning the game thinking that Liverpool would necessarily turn United over, but there's that feeling that if Liverpool get it right, treat it seriously, that they can win. But for me, I look at that and go, the amount of players that Liverpool got out or have had out, overall, you should really expect that. It's just the fact for me that Jurgen Klopp and this Liverpool side have coped so well with the injuries and setbacks they've had this season. Like against Chelsea, right? Although the result made us humiliating, it is humiliating for Chelsea in terms of the team that Liverpool put on the pitch. That's credit for Klopp, the trust he has in these youngsters, and ultimately they repay him. So overall, I think Liverpool will be fantastic this season. And I'm going to be totally honest with you. Whenever turn on the TV, etc. Liverpool play. I'm always hoping it's at Anfield. There's that special feel, and I think a lot of it is down with Jurgen Klopp leaving this season, but obviously the expansion we've seen around Anfield. But there's just that together feeling, that lovely feeling around the club. So I think Liverpool Football Club's a nice place to be around at the moment. Obviously, who knows whether we'll be the same, be saying the same once Klopp leaves. But ultimately, Jurgen Klopp's been an absolute privilege to the Premier League, and it won't be the same without him. Whether it's the Pep Guardiola fights and that trophies he's won, and it's just he's such a funny and an honest guy. We miss those moments. Classic one, drops his glasses, can't find it, or drops a ring, or it's just this class. You can't dislike him. Times I think, he's whining or he's being annoying, but he has nothing but respect for the opposition, for opposition players. He wants what's best for Liverpool, and you'd want him at your football club, let's be very honest. But overall, Liverpool's season, I think, has been good. Of course, you can say that with any club, Man City, even Arsenal, it could always be better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you were spot on before when you said about results that should have been wins. I'd argue City a couple of weeks ago, that should have been a win. Luton, like you mentioned before, who else have we drew against? We drew against Brighton. That was a big one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was the 08-09 season, I believe, and we'd only lost 2 games all season, but we drew like 10, and that cost us ultimately. And draws at this point feel like a loss. I mean, I want to get goal scoring's not been an issue for us, nor has defence really. It's just been little moments in concentration where it's gone lapse. And talking of players who have lapses in concentration, Darwin Núñez is someone who I think he polarizes everyone. I adore Darwin Núñez, like beyond belief. I think he's brilliant. Can you see why Liverpool fans are so the stick behind him so much? Like, what's your honest thoughts of him? Is he a good player, or are we sort of blinded by loyalty in a sense?
If I'm being totally honest, and this may come as a surprise to yourself and others, but I think that he's generally still overhated. Not necessarily generally, but by football fans. Even some Liverpool fans are still doubtful. But again, let's be very clear here. Some of the chances he missed should ultimately find the back of the net. But I think Liverpool fans have a right to get almost carried away and excited, if you like, in terms of you can see what he brings to the football pitch on and off the ball. His energy is unreal. His press. Just everything about him, physicality, pace, some of his shots. There's a lot I like about Núñez. If he can just work on that finishing, for me, ultimately he could become the next Haaland, if not better. He's not actually that far away. He just works on that clinical edge. For me, he scores goals where he shouldn't score goals. But the ones that you expect him to score, he doesn't score, and whether it's a lapse of concentration. But we see it with all players in terms of it happens to everyone where you think you scored this. And we've all done it at any level. Let's be clear here. We thought, the ball's hit the back of the net, so we kind of almost like go away to celebrate. But overall, what he brings to this Liverpool team is amazing. I see him as long term in this Liverpool team. If you said to me, if I'm picking a Liverpool starting 11, Núñez would be one of the first names in there. And I'd have him over Cody Gakpo. I'd have him over a lot of players in that team. It just brings a lot. And like obviously, we get to play you. If you said to me, who worries you when we go to Anfield? I'll go, Salah in terms of quality and one moment in a game incredible moment he can produce that Harry Kane does, even when they don't feature a lot in the game. They'll be worried about that. In terms of who's going to press, who's going to force a mistake, who's going to cause that Spurs backline problems all afternoon, it would be Darwin Núñez. So I'd be hoping to see him on the bench. So Liverpool fans, I don't think they're getting carried away at all by Núñez. I like what I've seen. And I think people need to be patient. And I think some of the criticism he's got is a bit unfair. Maybe the price tag comes with that. But overall, he's a gem to Liverpool, and they'll be very keen to keep hold of him for future years beyond Klopp.
Well, I saw you tweet out today something that was, I think you wanted to make the Timo Werner deal permanent. Yeah. Was that, would Darwin Núñez fit an Ange Postecoglu system?
Wow. Good question. Would Darwin Núñez suit this Tottenham system? I think in terms of press, he absolutely would. He would. I don't see it happening, if I'm honest with you. But a player like Darwin Núñez would really suit as the press there and kind of almost like that false nine, if you like, because I love him in Son. But for me, I want to be in a position where we put him back on the left, because there's been times where we put the ball in the box. There'll be times, we play here, we go to James's Park, where we get such good areas and we exploit you defensively, but we put the ball in the box, there's no one there. it's only on the floor that Son's going to win. And Son's classy. And at his age, he's in a very good position. He does a lot for this football club, on and off the pitch again, and consistently produced when the big occasion, which is absolutely excellent. Even more than Harry Kane did. Let's be clear, I'm so grateful what Kane done, but on big occasions, it'd be Son or be Lucas Moura, as we discussed earlier, rather than Harry Kane. So again, that's credit to Son. And we talk about legend status in terms of loyalty. Pretty much, he's been his whole career nearly at Tottenham, so that's incredible. But yeah, I would. If you said to me, would I take Darwin Núñez? Absolutely, and I think he would suit the Ange Postecoglou system. But again, a lot of fans get carried away with this. Well, does he suit the system? Does he not? Spurs fans, it's like, I really want Fulham's Anthony Robertson for healthy competition with the doggies. Something I've recently tweeted in the last 24, 48 hours. People go, you don't suit the system, but you don't really know until you're in that system. I think I look at someone like Robertson. I think you can easily turn him into, I'll say fullback, but that's somebody who converts in midfield. I can see it easily happening. Doherty, I really like from Luton. So there's a lot of players I think will suit the system, but Darwin Núñez to have at Tottenham would be a dream come true.
You know what? I think that's the best praise I've heard of him, to be honest, from anyone. Anyone even just says that we're in creating metrics to sort of support having him in the team. I think what he provides is so not unrecognised, but he if Liverpool was a player, it would be him in the sense of he's chaotic. He will put the fear of God in players. He's a physical powerhouse. He presses. He
plays for the badge as well.
He creates space. Yeah,
he plays for the badge. He gives 110%. I just love his energy. And as a defender, obviously myself, would be worried with a player like that. You think someone like Salah, we keep him quiet, we might be okay, but Núñez is constant energy for 90 minutes. So for me, he has to start more games and he has to stay on the pitch for longer as well.
No, I completely agree. I think you're right. And the United game, I think the other day would have been an example where Gakpo should have started, worn them down, and Núñez could have then come on and used his physicality to get in behind. Now, we've got one more question before we shoot off, and it's it's kind of a two-parter. I want you to give me which 3 teams are getting relegated. Is Tottenham going to make the top 4? And who's winning the Premier League title? And you can be honest. You don't have to say Liverpool because we're on a Liverpool chat. You can be as honest as you want with that one.
No worries. Right, I'm going to start with relegation. I think Burnley and Sheffield United will go down. I think Burnley will make it interesting towards the end, but I still think ultimately they will go down. So them too. And obviously we've seen points deductions backwards and forwards. So I do think Luton will make their great escape, if you like, favoured by points deductions, whatever you think of them. So I do think they will stay up, and I think Forest, controversially on goal difference, will go down. I think there'll be a lot of inquests, a lot of questions asked, but I think the Forest will be the 4 points is too much for them. I think ultimately, I think that they're really going to struggle. I think it's going to be hard anyway, but 4 points for me is just too much to come back from in this period of the season. So they're 3 to get relegated. Will Tottenham get top 4 at this moment in time? And I said this before the Fulham game. I actually went on a show, Spurs Kings TV, which I'm part of, a co-host, and after the Villa game, and everyone was surprised. I said that I don't think we'll get top 4. I still think, despite this, Villa will come back stronger, something Unai Emery's always done in his career, and they were absolutely baffled. And obviously, after we've seen that with the Fulham game, I just look at our games coming up in April. Obviously, the City game's been cancelled, but it was looking like, it's still hard now in terms of St James's Park. We've got to go to Anfield. We've got host City and Arsenal. Got rearranged the game against Chelsea. Got West Ham to come, which seems to be our bogey team this year. So there's a lot of fixtures in there that I'm worried about. You've got Luton, Nottingham Forest, who need points more than ever. I think our games will be hard to the end of the season. So I think we'll finish 5th, and overall be happy with that. A lot of Spurs fans consider it failure, but ultimately they're the fans that are saying that we're going to get relegated or finish mid-table or start the season. So context again is very important. Who do I think will win in the title? I like to kind of stick with what I've said, and it has changed a few times this year, but I've kept it generally the same this year itself in 2024. And ever since I found out that Jurgen Klopp was leaving, I was like, they're going to end the year on a high. And I stand by that. And I think that you will win the treble, and I think you will win. Obviously, that includes the Premier League title. I think it will go Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester City. Obviously, that sounds a surprise to say City in 3rd. It is a big surprise. Yeah. But I think it will be, we're talking between 1st and 3rd. I think there'll be less than 3 points in it. So I think it'll be incredibly tight. I think all of them will go down to the last game. where I think all teams will win. But I think it'd be kind of be done by then. So Liverpool to win the title, Spurs not to finish in top four, and Nottingham Forest, Sheffield United, and Burnley to get relegated. Some quite controversial in there, in particular how I think the title race will go, and also Spurs getting top four. I think is at this moment in time.
Well, if that is the case, we're in for a very exciting end of the season. If that happens on the last day of the season, I might have a panic attack. I've seen us lose Premier League titles on the last day of the season. I cannot do it again, and I just no. I'm in complete. I actually got a bit nervous when you said that, but that is going to conclude the video, guys. If you are new around here, please make sure to like and subscribe and tune in every single day, 7:30 p.m. UK time for the daily streams. There'll be one. Well, there's one going on at the time recording this, but you guys won't know that. But every single day, 7:30 p.m. UK time, and please make sure you go subscribe to Harry's channel, Scarfey Spurs Talk. If you've not seen it today, he's one of the most. I can't even describe. Very articulate, very creative, and one of the best up-and-coming channels, whether you're Tottenham or any football fan or walks of life. Please make sure you go subscribe to it. Harry, any final words, anything that you want to lead the guys towards for your channel or any other channels that you're part of?
Firstly, most importantly, thank you very much for that, Lewis. It does mean a lot, and thank you very much for inviting me on this fantastic channel, LFC Transfer Room today. So it's been an honour, so thank you very much for that. If you want to follow me, you can there, Harry Scarfe 22. Most importantly, subscribe to the channel here. If you want to subscribe to me, go check out my channel, Scarfey Spurs Talk, with Premier League and Tottenham content. We've recently introduced Tuesday 7 p.m. and Wednesday 8 p.m. live on YouTube streams, where which are both Premier League shows. One will be Wednesday will be where they preview the previous, they react to the previous game week and preview the next game week. And the Tuesday shows about big things that are going on. A lot of it's been around the Forest points deduction recently, whether it's fair and the relegation battle. Any Premier League fans are welcome. If any of you want to go check it out, it'll be absolutely fantastic. It's massively appreciated. And also, it's been an honour this year to work with football clubs like Fulham and Tottenham around fan accessibility, inclusion, neurodiversity. Obviously, being autistic openly myself, that means a lot. Obviously, we discussed how great it is to see people opening up. So if anyone, it's been great to give as well people opportunities on the channel, and it's been great to see them thrive. So all the support is massively appreciated. And anyone that wants to come on the show, host the show, get in touch and we'll make it happen. But once again, thank you very much, Lewis, for giving me your time.
No, not a problem at all. You've been an absolute privilege to have on. Thank you so much for coming on, talking all things Tottenham and Liverpool. Like I said, guys, if you are new around here, please make sure to hit like and subscribe, and go subscribe to Harry's channel. If you haven't seen it already as well, go check out the last expert analysis video I did. It had Dan Club on it from Redmen TV. Really entertaining chat. We talked Jurgen Klopp's departure, Xabi Alonso's appointment, potentially, and the FSG model, along with other things to do with Liverpool. Thank you very much for watching, guys.